What if I told you that elephants once walked where the Mediterranean Sea now sparkles? Sounds impossible, right? But history holds surprises far stranger than fiction. There was a time when the mighty Mediterranean was no sea at all. It was a barren desert, dry as bone and vast as the eye could see. And in this surreal landscape, massive herds of elephants roamed freely, leaving their footprints in a world that doesn't exist anymore. How did this happen? What unimaginable forces turned an ocean into a lifeless salt flat, and what brought it roaring back to life in one of Earth's most epic transformations? The answers lie buried in time, waiting to astonish you. Trust me, this story will challenge everything you thought you knew about our planet's history. Did you know there's a massive stash of salt hidden under the Mediterranean Sea? And I'm not talking about your average table salt. This is the kind of thing that screams ancient mystery. Turns out, this salt is all that's left from a time when the Mediterranean dried up completely during the Messinian Salinity Crisis, MSC. For over 600,000 years, this beautiful sea turned into a cracked, salty desert. It's wild to think that where we now find sparkling blue water, there was once nothing but endless salt plains. Now, this wasn't just a whoops, the water's gone moment. Entire ecosystems collapsed, leaving the Mediterranean pretty much lifeless. Those salt deposits? They're like fossils, but instead of bones, they're layers of dried-up history. It's crazy to imagine an ocean that went from teeming with life to absolutely nothing. But hey, nature loves leaving us these unsolved mysteries, doesn't it? Like it's daring us to figure out what really went down. So, what caused this whole mess? Well, tectonic activity closed up the Strait of Gibraltar, cutting off the Mediterranean from the Atlantic. With no water coming in, the sea just shriveled up piece by piece. Imagine standing there, looking at miles of shimmering salt under the blazing sun. Sounds like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie, right? And yet, it was totally real, a desert where an ocean used to be. Just one of Earth's dramatic makeovers. But here's where it gets even cooler. Under all that salt, there are fossils of creatures that somehow made it through this harsh time. Like the Nuralagus rex, a rabbit so big and weird it doesn't even hop. It's like nature was saying, let's see what kind of wild experiments we can do here. And trust me, that's just scratching the surface of what this ancient desert has to tell us. Let's talk about one of the coolest surprises hidden in this ancient salty desert, the bizarre creatures that called it home. During the Messinian Salinity Crisis, MSC, when the Mediterranean dried up, isolated landmasses became a playground for evolution. One of the stars of this weird world was the Nuralagus rex, a rabbit that broke all the rules. It didn't hop, it didn't dash, it waddled like some kind of prehistoric penguin-rabbit hybrid. Insular gigantism had turned this little bunny into a 10-kilo king of its own tiny island. But the Nuralagus wasn't alone in this land of evolutionary oddities. With the Mediterranean Sea gone, islands popped up like stepping stones, and animals adapted to their isolated environments in mind-blowing ways. Giants roamed where they shouldn't have existed, and species shrank in ways that defy logic. It's like evolution decided to throw the rulebook out the window and just get creative. This was nature at its most experimental, crafting creatures that wouldn't survive anywhere else. What's wild is how the MSC didn't just reshape the land. It rewrote the story of life itself. Without the sea acting as a barrier, animals moved around in ways that seem impossible today. Land bridges connected places that are now completely separated, letting megafauna like elephants and hippos wander where the Mediterranean now flows. Just imagine herds of massive creatures trekking through what used to be ocean. It's hard to wrap your head around, isn't it? And yet, these fossils are only part of the story. The creatures that survived this bizarre period leave us with so many questions. What else might be hidden beneath those salt deposits, waiting to be discovered? Could there be even stranger species, lost to time? It's like a forgotten chapter of Earth's history, just waiting for someone to turn the page. So, how does an entire sea vanish? Well, blame it on tectonic activity and some seriously wild climate shifts. Millions of years ago, the Mediterranean Sea relied on the Strait of Gibraltar like a lifeline. But when tectonic plates shifted and sealed it off, the water had nowhere to go. Slowly but surely, the sea dried up in phases, leaving behind a barren landscape. It's like the Earth pulled the ultimate closed for maintenance sign on an entire ocean. The timing couldn't have been worse. Climate cycles kicked in, cranking up evaporation while rainfall all but disappeared. Picture the Mediterranean turning into a giant, salty frying pan under the blazing sun. As water levels dropped, isolated pockets of brine were all that remained, a grim reminder of what used to be. It's almost surreal, isn't it? A paradise for marine life transformed into a desert of salt and silence. But tectonics weren't just shutting the door. They were also reshaping the region. Mountain ranges rose, valleys sank, and the Mediterranean became a battleground of geological forces. The Strait of Gibraltar wasn't just blocked. It was reshaped, creating the perfect conditions for this incredible transformation. And the salt deposits? They're like breadcrumbs leading us back to this mind-boggling event. Every layer is a clue, piecing together the story of a sea's dramatic disappearance. And yet, the MSC wasn't just a geological event. It was a life-changer, literally. With the sea gone, animals and plants faced challenges they'd never seen before. The Mediterranean became a stage for extreme survival, and the adaptations that followed were nothing short of miraculous. But what exactly happened to the marine life that once thrived there? That's where things get even more intriguing. The Messinian Salinity Crisis, MSC, didn't just dry up the Mediterranean Sea. It reshaped life across the region. Marine extinction wiped out countless species, turning the seabed into a lifeless desert. But for land creatures, this was an opportunity. Land bridges emerged, letting animals like elephants and hippos roam across areas they'd never reach today. It was survival of the boldest, not just the fittest. The MSC sparked some of the most fascinating migrations in history. Imagine elephants strolling across the Mediterranean's dry basin, their footprints pressed into salt-crusted plains. Smaller creatures, like the bizarre Nuralagus rex, adapted to isolated islands in ways we can barely comprehend. Evolution took bold risks, and the fossils left behind are like nature's autograph on this strange era. Geologically, the MSC left behind layers of salt deposits over a kilometer thick, recording Earth's upheaval like pages in a diary. These deposits tell of a sea drying in phases, its ecosystems collapsing one by one. It's a geological mystery and a testament to Earth's wild unpredictability. The Mediterranean may have vanished, but its scars hold clues to an untold story of transformation. And here's the kicker. Just when the Mediterranean seemed lost forever, it came roaring back in the Zanclean Flood. This wasn't just a flood, it was a spectacle of epic proportions. Want to know how this ancient sea came back to life? Hit subscribe and turn on notifications to uncover the next mind-blowing chapter of this story. Just when it seemed like the Mediterranean was gone for good, nature pulled off the ultimate comeback story. The Zanclean Flood was no ordinary event. It was an epic, roaring rush of water that refilled the Mediterranean Sea. Imagine a massive river-like torrent surging through the Strait of Gibraltar, carving new paths and reshaping the region in ways no one could have predicted. In as little as 2 years, the basin went from barren desert to a thriving sea once more. This wasn't just a gentle trickle. It was like turning on the Earth's faucet at full blast. Water from the Atlantic came crashing in, flooding the basin at speeds that defy belief. Some estimates suggest the water level rose by over 10 meters per day. Picture an unstoppable cascade, refilling a region that had been dry for hundreds of thousands of years. The Zanclean Flood wasn't just a refill. It was a rebirth, breathing life back into a forgotten ocean. And the impact? Nothing short of extraordinary. Marine ecosystems began to recover, life returned to the depths, and the Mediterranean regained its place as one of Earth's most vibrant seas. But it wasn't just about the water. The flood reshaped coastlines, carved out new geological features, and left a lasting mark on the region's history. The sheer scale of this event is almost impossible to grasp, but the evidence is etched into the rocks and sediments for us to uncover. So, how did this flood change the course of life in the Mediterranean? What mysteries still lie beneath its waves, waiting to be uncovered? The Zanclean Flood is just one chapter of a much bigger story, filled with hidden wonders and unanswered questions. But one thing is clear. This ancient sea still has plenty of secrets to share, and they're just waiting for you to dive in. With the Zanclean Flood marking the Mediterranean's dramatic comeback, the Pliocene epic set the stage for a whole new era. This period wasn't just about recovering seas. It was a time of transformation for life, climate, and geology. The Mediterranean wasn't simply refilled. It became a dynamic hub of biodiversity, attracting marine life eager to reclaim the waters. It's like nature hit the reset button, giving the Mediterranean a second chance to thrive. But the changes weren't just in the water. The Pliocene brought shifts in global climate, reshaping ecosystems far beyond the Mediterranean. Rising sea levels, shifting tectonic plates, and warming temperatures created new challenges and opportunities. It was an era where the Earth experimented with balance, pushing the boundaries of what life could adapt to. The Mediterranean became a key player in this evolving world stage, its waters teeming with reborn ecosystems. Geologists and biologists alike marvel at the Pliocene's influence on today's Mediterranean. Layers of sediment and salt deposits tell the story of a sea reborn, and fossils reveal how life adapted to these changes. Creatures that once roamed its dry bed disappeared, replaced by new species carving out their place. The Mediterranean became a living archive, holding the secrets of survival, extinction, and evolution within its depths. And yet, so much remains hidden. What other secrets might the Pliocene epoch hold? What fossils lie buried beneath the seafloor, waiting to reveal the next piece of this puzzle? The story of the Mediterranean isn't finished. It's only just begun, and the Pliocene's legacy keeps pulling us deeper into its mysteries. Imagine knowing something few people ever will. Elephants once walked across the dry Mediterranean Sea. This isn't just a cool fact. It's a doorway to understanding the incredible forces that shaped our planet. Each discovery like this brings us closer to uncovering the mysteries that make Earth's history so unique and so inspiring. What other secrets might still be waiting to be found? The Mediterranean story is just one chapter in a book filled with untold wonders. Don't let this be where your journey ends. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep exploring the hidden stories that make you smarter, sharper, and endlessly curious.